Welcome back, everyone. In part 3, we'll actually work on testing our API. An important note is that we need to download and install Postman at www.postman.com. There is an online version of Postman, but we'll go ahead and download the application to run locally on our computer. Let's go to postman.com and check it out. Okay, here I am at postman.com. Keep in mind, this website changes quite frequently as far as what it looks like, and there's also a bunch of information about their web product as well as their pricing. Pricing for what we're doing is completely free. As I mentioned, there is the ability to sign in and sign up for their online platform, but if you scroll all the way down to the bottom or check out just a little search on the page, you should be able to find the actual application, or just Google search Postman app, APP. Click here, and under postman.com/downloads, you should be able to find the Postman app. Again, there is a website version that runs in the browser, but we're actually going to be using the Postman app. So go ahead and click on Download App, and then it should give you the option of whether you're on Mac OS or Linux. You can see here there's Mac OS and Linux as well. And if you were on Windows 64-bit, you would just click and download it. So I already have Postman downloaded, so I'm going to now skip forward to actually opening up Postman locally on my computer. Okay, so here I have Postman up and running. What Postman allows us to do is test APIs by sending GET and POST requests. So what we're going to do is click right here where it says Building Blocks Request, and we're going to start off a very basic request. You can actually call this request whatever you want. So let's just call it Test Request, and then if you want, you can give a description. So my test here. And you could add it to a collection or folder to save it to, or you can just create a collection if you don't already have one yet. So since I don't have anything, I just started Postman. I'll hit create collection, name this collection, maybe something like testing APIs or something like that. Hit the check mark. Now I have this folder, testing APIs. Click on it, and I'm going to save to testing APIs. So I essentially have a request called test. Description is my test. And I just created a new collection, which is essentially a folder. And then I'm going to click on it, click on it again, there we go, and let's save it to testing APIs. Once you've saved it there, you should see right here get test, and then your little folder here of testing APIs. So we're going to leave this for right now and come back to it. What we need to do is go to our command prompt and actually run our new API.py file. As a quick note, I just checked out in the last video, there was a small typo where I wrote from joblib instead of import joblib. So let's go quickly back and fix that. So let me go to Jupyter Lab right now. Okay, so here I am at Jupyter Lab. I just need to change this from joblib to import joblib, Control S to save. I believe everything else should be working. Let's go ahead and try it out. I can try it out by simply bringing in my command prompt and then running Python, my new API.py, hit enter, and eventually you should see the fact that it is running. And you notice it's running locally on http://127.0.0.1 port 5000. You could technically provide a port. If you scroll down here, you can say inside app.run port equal to 12345 or whatever you want. By default, it's port 5000. You should only be really running one Flask application at a time, but now we have it working. So let's go ahead and reopen Postman. So I have it running right now. Again, do not do Control C here, otherwise that will kill the server. So again, keep in mind that when you're running a Python script like this and running this Flask application, if you were to do Control C, it would kill the server. So just leave this running. You should see just running on HTTP, and then we're going to leave that running in the command prompt. And now that this essentially web application is running locally, what we're going to do is actually test our API. So how do we do this? Well, the first thing we need to do is come to here, test, and I know it said get, but we're actually going to post information. So by default, it's get information, but we're actually going to provide information to the URL. And recall the URL was simply http://127.0.0.1 and it should be 5000/predict. If you provided a different port, or if you ran multiple Flask applications, you may have seen a different number instead of 5000. But if you've been following along with us exactly, it should be this URL. This is the same URL that it's showing over here, right here on HTTP 127.5000, that essentially needs to match. However, I'm adding /predict because recall, if we were to take a look at our actual code, let me just bring it in real quick here. Remember, we're adding the /predict to accept a post, which is exactly what we're going to do with Postman. So how do we do this now? The second step is to select the body of what we actually want to send or post. And then what we're going to do is select raw. And then I'm going to send this as application JSON. So I know I did a couple things there, but remember I hit body, raw, JSON. And now you're going to pass in a list, and we can kind of zoom in here. So we're going to pass in a list of features. So you have these closing brackets, curly braces for every single row you want a prediction for, and then you pass in a JSON that corresponds to what we were doing earlier. So recall we trained this on TV column, comma, radio column, and this needs to match pretty much exactly with the original column names. It's 37.8, and then we're also going to do newspaper, colon, and let's do 69.2. These are the ones we tested towards the very end. Now, if you wanted to pass in multiple rows, you could say comma and do the same thing here for another set of numbers, etc. But I'm just going to predict on one thing here. And keep in mind, it's pretty easy to use pandas to go from CSV to JSON, JSON to CSV, etc. So if you had all your data in, for instance, a CSV file, you could be using pandas to start automating these sort of post and get requests. And as you get more and more familiar with Python, post and get requests, you realize that you could pretty much automate all this. This is just a very visual, hands-on way of testing the API itself. Okay, so now I have this raw data. What I'm going to do now is supply it, and once it's ready to go, and I've checked that my post is ready to go and my raw JSON data is ready to go, let's send it to the API and see what it says back. So it says hit the send button to get a response. I'm going to hit send here. It's going to load, and note what it has as a response. It's replying with JSON prediction 21.99. And you can see your command line should update with some little indication that something was posted to predict. And that's it. Our API is now working. And if you have a colleague that is familiar with APIs, post and get requests, you can pretty much just show them this and they will know exactly what to do with it and how to incorporate it into a larger project. Okay, that's it. Hope you found that useful. I'll see you at the next lecture.